Hi, it's Carol Doherty. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, I want to talk about how to deal with bias in the workplace. All too often, as a woman in STEM, we are hitting bias head on. And that's wrong. It's inappropriate in the workplace, and all it's doing is holding us back, and it holds back our organizations and the industries as a whole. So what do we do? Now, first, I want to say there is a lot of different biases. Some of it is open, it's intentional, and it's harmful. People are intentionally singling us out because we're women. They're intentionally holding us back because we're a woman. That's wrong. But there's also that subtle unconscious bias that people don't even always realize they have. I know one guy who was told he needed to do his annual unconscious bias training, and he's like, I don't need to. I don't have any biases. Yeah, you do need to do it. And it wasn't that he was actually a horrible person and really put people down, but he was blind to the fact that as a human being, we have biases. We all do. It's part of who we are. It's part of how our human brain works. But it doesn't have to have a negative impact on us or on the people around us. Now, part of what's going on with our brains that cause bias is our brains are wired to look for patterns and look for things that are predictable and we can quickly and easily understand. We make tens of thousands of decisions every day unconsciously. And so we're looking for the patterns. What's going on? What's happening? How often have you driven home from work and gone, I don't really remember that whole drive, or I don't remember how many red lights I stopped at? That's because unconsciously your brain is dealing with what it's seeing. And so if you look at STEM, women are not common. We've made great inroads since I first went into engineering back in the 80s. Women in engineering in college was really rare. It has gotten better, but it hasn't grown substantially. That's a problem, but that's a different conversation. But because we are the thing that is different, people will naturally struggle with, what do we do? This person is different. How do we deal with this? We can't fix them. We can bring things to their awareness. We can raise issues, but we can't fix them. All we can do is determine how we're going to handle the situation. So I want to share with you my 3 best tips for dealing with bias. And these are things I did while dealing with bias in my career. There were times when I was one of the only, if not the only, female engineer in the group or the organization. Yeah, I've seen a lot of this going on. Let's start. First, focus on results and responsibilities. What is it you are hired to do? There has been more than one occasion where I told somebody, okay, fine, you don't think that's what I should be doing, but I'm the engineer who was assigned that. So it is my job to do this. Yeah, but you're a woman. My job description doesn't have anything to do with male or female. It says the chemical engineer assigned to do this will deal with it. I was assigned it. It is mine to do. I had this conversation more than once. So focus on what it is you're supposed to be doing. What results are you expected to get? Focus on the job. You leave gender out of it. And that's what I did. I had to do that over and over again. And sometimes the guys I was telling this to were old enough to be my dad. And I'm looking at them going, would you want your daughters treated that way? No. But that was their mindset. It was their bias. They weren't used to women engineers. And they definitely weren't used to a woman engineer at the age of their daughter coming out telling them what to do. But I stuck with what was my responsibility. What was I there to do? That was my focus. The second thing was I always stayed respectful. You cannot sink into a name game. Calling people names, pointing fingers, playing the blame game doesn't solve anything. Respectfully call it out if needed. There were plenty of times when I did. I know I told a couple of people, would you want somebody talking to your daughter that way? Well, no, then why are you doing it to me? And you'd see this kind of, okay. It may be as simple as saying, wow, I don't know if you realize how sexist that sounds. Or it could be, please stop making assumptions about what my job is or what I can do. I've used both of those. But sticking with that professional response, and maybe you have to go have a conversation with them later when tempers, if you're getting hot under the collar, so to speak, stop and let it settle. And then go back and talk to them about how harmful it is. And when you're doing that, you can then talk about how the behavior they're doing, the things that they're saying, impact the people around them. Sometimes we don't realize the impact of the words we use or the things that we say. We don't see it. And so it may be that by respectfully calling it out, you can make them aware of the impact they're having. There will be some people that don't care. They have made up their mind that you don't belong where you are. Don't waste your time on them. Shut them down if they're really doing things that are illegal. That's what HR is for. That's what managers are for. That's what leadership is for. There are laws in the U.S. about that kind of thing. So use those if needed. But if it's just this unconscious bias that's bubbling up and people don't realize it, call it out. Do it respectfully and help them see the impact of what they're doing. And lastly, by all means, stay professional. Take the high road. You're there to do a job. You weren't hired, or maybe you were hired because they wanted to meet diversity numbers. So what? You were hired to be whatever you are. I was hired to be an engineer. So my job was to be the best engineer I could be. So I focused on that. I stayed professional. I did my job. I worked to be professional. And I was known to be professional. And because I tend to be a believer that the best revenge is massive success, I worked to get results. I got my job done. I made connections. I would step up for stretch assignments. I was accessible to people who needed help. I would go out of my way, sometimes go above and beyond when helping someone. And you know what? I got known as somebody who could get things done, who was accessible, who was approachable, and who would help. You know what? My credibility was phenomenal. People would come to me. They didn't care that I was a female engineer anymore. They cared about the fact that Carol could help them solve their problem. Carol could help get something moving. Carol could figure out what was going on. That gave me the opportunities to move up and to move on. That's what mattered to me. So great success is the best revenge against the people who are being intentionally biased. Now, a word on if you feel like you're being paid unfairly. And I know I was in that position and I didn't take it as head on as I should have at the time. It was also a different century and it was much harder. Now it's easier to do your homework, to know what you should be paid in your job with your level of experience in your area. Use the data. Present it as data. Hey, I don't know if you realize how far underpaid I am. Give them the benefit of the doubt. They know. But raise it as I have realized that I am being paid this far under market conditions for this area. What can we do to get this fixed? So don't play the blame game, but raise it as a problem. Hey, I've become aware of that, and address it. Give them the opportunity to make it right. And if they push back, say, well, do you want our company to be known as paying less than market value? That's going to hurt us in our recruiting efforts, and we need more people, especially if they're actively hiring. This is a great argument. So stick to the facts. Be professional. Be respectful. Don't let them off the hook unless there's no way you're going to win. And then it might be time for you to move on, because now there are so many organizations that respect and value the input of anybody and everybody. They are willing to bring women in to help grow and develop women. If you're not in one of those organizations, look around. There's a lot of people moving in the market. You can probably land in a better place. So address the bias. Be professional. Respectfully call it out. And focus on the role that you were hired to do. You do those things, and you know what? It won't silence all of the critics, but it makes people who have unconscious bias against women in STEM, makes it harder for them to hold on to that because they see you being successful. If you found value in this, please subscribe below. Come join me on Instagram. I'm at Carol S. Doherty, where I talk more about how women can thrive in their STEM career. See you around and have a great day.